Mommy, why does that ajushi keep staring at us? My 6-year-old daughter Sada's voice cuts through the buzz of the Seoul Medical Conference like a knife. I follow her pointing finger across the crowded auditorium to where Park Min-ho stands frozen by the registration table, his face white as hospital sheets. He thinks they're his children. But today, he's about to discover the truth that will destroy us both. That's nobody, baby, I whisper in Yoruba, pulling both twins closer to my lab coat. Tolu, stop pulling your tie. My son straightens his miniature suit, the one that makes him look exactly like his father did at that age. Not Min-ho. His real father. The one who died before he could meet them. I'm Dr. Folake Okafor now. Nigeria's youngest neurosurgeon. The woman whose groundbreaking research on childhood brain trauma earned me this keynote speaking slot at the same university where I was once just another African girl chasing impossible dreams. 7 years ago, I walked out of this building pregnant and broken. Today, I'm walking back in as everything Min-ho's family said I could never become. Before I tell you what happened when our eyes finally met, let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna, because some secrets are too dangerous to keep buried. The conference coordinator, a middle-aged Korean woman in designer glasses, approaches with that practiced smile Seoul professionals perfect. Dr. Okafor, we're ready for your presentation setup, she says in accented English. Saad responds in perfect Korean, bowing politely. The woman's smile falters. Her eyes dart between my daughter's flawless pronunciation and the conference program in her hands. Your daughter speaks Korean very well, she says carefully. Both our children do, I reply, watching her mental calculations. We believe in cultural education. What I don't tell her is that I taught them their father's language every night for 6 years. Not Min-ho's language. Their real father's language. Dr. James spoke fluent Korean from his years studying at Yonsei University. But everyone here will assume otherwise. Tolu tugs at my skirt. Iyama, can we get bunjiapang after your speech? The coordinator's face goes completely pale now. Because children don't call their Nigerian mother, Iyama, unless they've been raised to believe they're half Korean. Excuse me, she stammers, backing away with her clipboard clutched to her chest. I watch her beeline straight toward the registration table. Straight toward Min-ho. The trap is set. 7 years ago, Park Min-ho was just a struggling medical student who needed my help to pass biochemistry. 25 years old, heir to a pharmaceutical empire, but scared of his own shadow when it came to anything that wasn't handed to him on a silver platter. I was 21, sharp as surgical steel, and naive enough to believe love could conquer family expectations and cultural barriers. Now he's 32, married to the perfect Korean heiress his family chose, running the Asian division of Park Pharmaceuticals. He thinks he sacrificed everything for duty and honor. But he has no idea what real sacrifice looks like. The coordinator is whispering frantically in his ear now. I see his shoulders tense, see him turn slowly in our direction. When our eyes meet across 30 feet of academic ambition and bitter history, time stops. He looks exactly the same. Same gentle eyes that used to study my face like I was the most fascinating medical textbook he'd ever read. Same mouth that promised me forever in 3 different languages. Same hands that signed the marriage contract with another woman 6 months after I left Korea. Appa! Saad shouts suddenly, breaking away from my grip. My heart stops. Because she's not running toward Min-ho. She's running toward the conference room where a massive banner displays the keynote speakers. Where my photograph sits beside Dr. James Adebayo's memorial tribute. The late Dr. James Adebayo. Nigeria's most celebrated pediatric researcher. The man these children call father because I've told them that's who raised them, even though he died when they were barely 1 year old. The man whose Korean was so perfect, he used to sing them traditional songs every night until his accident. But Min-ho doesn't know that yet. All he sees is a little girl who looks hauntingly familiar calling someone daddy in Korean. Sod, come back here, I call out, but it's too late. The entire registration area has gone silent. Conversations stop mid-sentence. Heads turn. Phones come out. Because Nigeria's famous Dr. Folake Okafor just revealed she has Korean-speaking children who recognize someone as their father. And Park Min-ho, married heir to a pharmaceutical dynasty, looks like he's seen ghosts. Which, in a way, he has. We all have. The ghosts of choices we made. The ghosts of love we buried. And most dangerous of all, the ghost of the truth that's about to surface after 7 years of careful burial. Min-ho starts walking toward us, each step measured and deliberate, like he's approaching an operating table where one wrong move could kill the patient. He doesn't know yet that the patient is already dead. And that everything he's about to discover will change nothing and everything at the same time. 8 years ago, I found Park Min-ho crying in the medical library at 3 a.m., surrounded by failed biochemistry exams and empty energy drink cans. You're going to fail, I said, sliding into the chair across from him. And from the look of things, this isn't your first time. He looked up with red-rimmed eyes, his perfectly styled hair a mess from running his hands through it. Are you here to mock me too? Because the line starts behind Professor Kim. I'm here to study. But you're disrupting my concentration with all that sniffling. His laugh was bitter. Sorry. I'll take my academic suicide somewhere else. Why are you in medicine if you hate it this much? The question seemed to break something in him. He slumped back in his chair, looking younger than his 25 years. Because my father owns Park Pharmaceuticals, and heirs don't get to choose their own paths. They get to follow predetermined routes to predetermined success. I studied his face, the sharp jawline that would look good on magazine covers, the designer clothes that cost more than my family's monthly income, the expensive watch that didn't hide the fact that he was utterly lost. You know what your problem is? I said, pulling out my biochemistry notes. You're trying to memorize formulas instead of understanding processes. Medicine isn't about being smart enough to recite textbooks. It's about being curious enough to ask why. And you think you can teach me curiosity? I can teach you to pass. Whether you learn curiosity is up to you. That first study session lasted until sunrise. I taught him molecular structures using candy wrappers and coffee stirrers. He taught me Korean curse words when the formulas got frustrating. Why are you helping me? He asked as we packed up our books. Because everyone deserves a chance to choose their own failures instead of inheriting them. By the third week, our study sessions had moved from the library to late-night restaurants in Hongdae. He'd pick places where no one from his father's social circle would recognize him, small joints that served kimchi jjigae and asked no questions about why a chaebol heir was tutoring with a Nigerian exchange student. Tell me about Lagos, he said one night, watching me mix rice into my soup with the ease of someone who'd learned Korean table manners from YouTube videos. What do you want to know? Everything. What it smells like. What your family does. Whether you miss it. I described the chaos of morning traffic on Victoria Island, the way palm wine tastes when your uncle makes it properly, the sound of 4 languages mixing at family gatherings. He listened like I was describing another planet. You talk about home like it's alive, he said softly. Because it is. Home isn't just a place, it's the people who make space for you to be yourself. Something shifted in his expression. I've never felt that way about anywhere. Maybe because you've never been allowed to choose your own space. The night he passed his biochemistry final, he insisted on celebrating at a proper Korean barbecue place. Somewhere expensive enough that his credit card wouldn't be declined, but private enough that gossip wouldn't reach his father's ears. I couldn't have done this without you, he said, raising his soju glass. You could have. You just needed someone to believe you were worth the effort. My family doesn't believe in effort. They believe in results and reputation. What do you believe in? He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, I'm starting to believe in choice. That's when he kissed me. Soft and uncertain at first, then desperate, like he was trying to memorize the moment before it could be taken away. Now, standing in this conference hall watching him approach with that same desperate expression, I remember the exact taste of soju and possibility on his lips. Dr. Okafor. His voice is deeper now, more controlled, but I can hear the boy who used to whisper my name like a prayer. Mr. Park. I keep my tone professional, aware that every conversation in this room has stopped to eavesdrop. Tolu and Saad press closer to my legs, sensing the tension radiating from both of us. Your children, he says carefully, they speak Korean beautifully. They're very bright. They pick up languages easily. His eyes search their faces with an intensity that makes my chest tight. Because he's looking for himself in their features. The slope of Sada's nose that matches his exactly. The way Tolu stands with one shoulder slightly higher, just like Minho does when he's nervous. How old are they? 6. They turned 6 last month. I watch him do the math. 6 years old means conceived 7 years ago. Right around the time I left Korea without explanation, without goodbye, without giving him a chance to choose me over his family's expectations. They're beautiful, he says, and his voice cracks slightly on the word. They get that from their father. The words hang in the air like a blade. Because I'm not lying, they do get their beauty from their father. Just not the father he thinks I mean. Folake. The way he says my name is different now. Hungry. Full of 7 years worth of questions. We need to talk. Dr. Okafor has a presentation to give, the coordinator interrupts, appearing beside us with obvious relief at having an excuse to separate us. The auditorium is ready. Of course. I gather my children's hands, preparing to walk away from this moment before it can explode into something neither of us can control. Will you be at the reception tonight? Minho asks quickly. We fly back to Lagos tomorrow morning. Then tonight. Please. There's something in his voice that takes me back to those late-night study sessions, to the vulnerable boy who trusted me with his failures and fears. Mommy, Saad whispers in English, why does the Ajushi look sad? Because sometimes adults carry heavy things for a long time, baby. Like when you cry looking at daddy's pictures? The entire conversation stops. Minho's face goes completely white. Because my 6-year-old daughter just revealed that she knows about a father whose pictures make her mother cry. A father she's never met but talks about like he's real. We should go, I say quickly, but Minho steps closer. Folake, please. Just 5 minutes. After your presentation. I look at his face, older now, marked by responsibility and compromise, but still carrying traces of the boy who used to believe love could be stronger than duty. 5 minutes, I whisper. Then I lead my children away, knowing that in 2 hours, I'll have to face the conversation that will either heal us both or destroy what's left of the love we thought we'd buried. But first, I have to give a presentation about childhood brain trauma to an audience that includes the man whose heart I'm about to break all over again. The irony isn't lost on me. 7 years ago, I discovered I was pregnant on the same day Minho's engagement photos appeared in every Korean business magazine. I was sitting in my tiny Seoul apartment, staring at the pregnancy test with shaking hands, when my phone buzzed with a news alert. Park Pharmaceuticals heir announces engagement to banking dynasty daughter. The photo showed Minho in a perfect black suit, standing beside a beautiful Korean woman in traditional hanbok. They looked like they belonged together, same social class, same cultural background, same predetermined future. I threw the phone across the room and watched it shatter against the wall. The pregnancy test wasn't Minho's baby. It was James's, Dr. James Adebayo, the brilliant Nigerian pediatric researcher who'd been my study partner, my confidant, My rebound after Minho started pulling away to prepare for his family obligations. James was everything Minho wasn't, confident in his identity, unashamed of his heritage, certain that love was worth fighting for. We'd had 3 intense months together before he got the fellowship offer in Germany. "Come with me to Berlin," he'd said the night before he left. "We can build something real there." But I was still bleeding from Minho's rejection, still hoping he'd choose me over his family's expectations. "I need time to think," I'd told James. "Don't think too long, Folake. Some opportunities don't wait." He was right. 2 weeks later, he was dead, a car accident on the Autobahn that took away the man who could have been my future and the father my unborn children would never meet. Minho found me crying in the medical library the day after James's funeral. "I heard about Dr. Adebayo," he said quietly, sitting beside me. "I'm sorry. I know you two were close." Close. Such a small word for the man who'd loved me fearlessly while Minho loved me secretly. "He was going to be a father," I whispered. Minho went completely still. "What?" "I'm pregnant. With twins. And now he's gone, and I don't know what to do." The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Then Minho reached for my hand. "Marry me," he said. I stared at him in shock. "What?" "Marry me. I'll raise them as my own. My family will accept you if you're carrying Park heirs. Even if they're not your children. They'll be mine in every way that matters." For one desperate moment, I almost said yes. Almost let him save me from single motherhood and financial ruin. Almost let James's children grow up believing Park Minho was their father. Then I remembered James's words, "Don't let anyone make you smaller than you are, not even for love." "I can't," I said. "I won't let you sacrifice your inheritance for children that aren't yours. And I won't let my children grow up as symbols of your rebellion against your family." Folake. "No. You chose your path when you got engaged to her. I'm choosing mine." I left Korea 3 days later with money I'd borrowed from my uncle and a promise to myself that my children would know their real father's legacy, even if they never knew his face. Now, standing backstage after my presentation, I watch Minho approach with that same desperate expression he wore 7 years ago. "Your speech was incredible," he says. "That case study about childhood trauma recovery was based on my own children," I interrupt. "Twins who lost their father before they could form memories of him." His face crumples. "Folake, I need to know. Are they? Are they what? Yours?" I laugh, but there's no humor in it. "What would that change, Minho? You're married. You have a life here. A reputation to protect." "I left my wife." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What?" "3 months ago. The marriage it was everything my family wanted and nothing I needed. I kept thinking about you, about the choice I should have made." I stare at him, trying to process this information. "Minho. I know it's too late. I know I have no right to ask. But those children, they look exactly like I did at their age. The way Saad tilts her head when she's thinking. The way Tolu stands with his hands clasped behind his back. My heart is breaking because he's right. They do look like him. James and Minho could have been brothers, same height, same bone structure, same unconscious gestures. That's why I chose James after Minho rejected me. Because loving him felt like loving the version of Minho who wasn't afraid to choose me. Yama. Saad comes running over, still speaking Korean like it's her first language. "The nice lady said there's a playground outside. Can we go?" Minho says to her in Korean, kneeling down to her eye level. "I'm Minho." She replies politely, bowing perfectly. "Are you a doctor too?" "I work with medicines." Like your mom helps fix people's brains, I help make the medicines that make them feel better. Tolu appears beside his sister, studying Minho with serious eyes. Do you know our daddy? The question hangs in the air like a trap. Minho's eyes dart to mine, searching for permission, for guidance, for any sign of what I want him to say. Have you ever felt that moment when everything you believe just shatters? When your heart knows something your mind isn't ready to accept? Tell me in the comments, because right now, I need to know I'm not the only one who's been this afraid. I knew your mommy when she was younger, Minho says carefully. Before you were born. Did you know our daddy too? Saad asks. He was a doctor. He helped children who were sick. He sounds like a wonderful man. Mommy says he watches us from heaven and that's why we're so smart. Minho's smile is genuine now, touched with something that looks like grief. Your mommy is right. And you are very smart. I watch this interaction with my heart in my throat. Because Minho is talking to them like they're his children, even while acknowledging their father was someone else. That's when my phone buzzes. A message from my research assistant in Lagos. Dr. Okafor, the DNA results you requested are ready. Should I email them to you? My blood turns to ice. 6 months ago, haunted by resemblances and coincidences, I had submitted DNA samples to confirm what I'd always assumed, that James was their biological father. I needed to be certain before I let Minho back into our lives. What is it? Minho asks, noticing my expression. I stare at the phone screen, knowing that opening this email will either validate everything I've believed for 7 years or destroy the foundation of my children's identity. Mommy, you look scared, Tolu says, taking my hand. Are you okay? I'm fine, baby. But I'm not fine. Because I'm about to open an email that might reveal I've been wrong about everything. With trembling fingers, I open the message and download the attachment. The DNA results load slowly, like the universe is giving me one last chance to live in ignorance. Then I see it. Biological father, unknown. The submitted samples show no genetic relationship between James Adebayo and subjects Tolu and Saad Okafor. The phone slips from my hands and clatters to the floor. Folake? Minho's voice sounds like it's coming from underwater. What's wrong? I can't speak. Can't breathe. Because if James isn't their father, and I was never with anyone else during that time period except the DNA test, I whisper. What DNA test? I look at my children, really look at them. Sada's stubborn chin that I thought came from James. Tolu's way of standing with perfect posture that I attributed to careful parenting. They're not James's children. They're Minho's. 7 years ago, in my grief and confusion, I miscalculated. James and I were together, but the timing was wrong. These children were conceived during those last desperate weeks when Minho was pulling away but still coming to me in secret, still choosing my bed over his fiancé's expectations. They're yours, I breathe, and the words feel like they're tearing my throat apart. Minho goes completely white. What? The DNA test. James isn't their father. You are. The silence that follows is deafening. Even the children seem to sense something monumental happening, clinging closer to my legs. I don't understand, Minho says, his voice barely audible. I thought, I was so sure, James and I were together around the same time, and when you got engaged, I assumed. You let me believe they weren't mine. I believed they weren't yours. For 7 years, Folake. 7 years I could have been their father. His voice is rising now, and people are starting to stare. Conference attendees pretending to network while actually listening to our private breakdown. 7 years you let me think I had lost you to another man's children. 7 years you let me live with the guilt of abandoning you when you needed me most. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. The accusation hits like a slap. Because if they were mine, you'd have had to admit that I came back to you even when I was engaged to someone else. You'd have had to admit that I chose you, even if I was too coward to do it publicly. The truth of his words cuts deeper than any scalpel. Because he's right. Part of me didn't want them to be his children. It was easier to hate him for abandoning me than to forgive him for being human. Yama, Sod tugs at my coat. Why is everyone looking at us? I look around the reception hall and realize we've become the evening's entertainment. Phones are out. Videos are being recorded. The private moment I've dreaded for 7 years is becoming public spectacle. And my children, his children, our children, are about to watch their world explode on social media. That night, Minho and I sit in my hotel room while our children sleep in the adjoining suite. The DNA results spread between us like evidence of a crime neither of us meant to commit. I named them after my grandmother and grandfather, I say quietly. Tolu and Sod. Strong Yoruba names because I wanted them to know where they came from, even if they'd never know their father. But I am their father. You're their biological father. There's a difference. He flinches at the distinction, but doesn't argue. 7 years of absence can't be erased by genetics. James raised them, I continue. In stories, in values, in the way I told them about courage and choosing love over fear. He's been their father in every way that mattered. James has been dead for 6 years, Folake. And you've been absent for 7. The silence between us carries the weight of time lost, choices made, lives lived in parallel instead of together. I know I have no right to ask, Minho says finally. But I want to try. I want to be their father in all the ways I should have been from the beginning. It's not that simple. You have a life here, responsibilities. I resigned from Park Pharmaceuticals yesterday. I stare at him. What? I submitted my resignation yesterday, before I even knew about the children. I'm starting my own practice. Pediatric medicine, like I always wanted. Minho, you can't throw away your entire inheritance for my children? For the woman I never stopped loving? Watch me. He pulls out his phone and shows me a business registration document. Park Minho Pediatric Clinic. I'm opening the first location in Lagos. My heart stops. Lagos? I've been planning this for months. Before I knew about Tolu and Sod, I was already trying to find a way back to you. Back to the life I should have chosen 7 years ago. I look at this man who once chose duty over love, now willing to abandon everything his family built for a chance at the family he helped create. The children don't know you, I whisper. They think James is their father. Then I'll earn the right to be called their father. However long it takes. What if they reject you? What if I tell them the truth and they choose to keep James as their daddy in their hearts? Minho's smile is sad but certain. Then I'll love them anyway. Because that's what fathers do, we love our children even when they can't love us back yet. The next morning, I wake to the sound of Korean children's songs coming from the next room. I find Minho sitting on the floor with Tolu and Sod, teaching them the same folk song he used to hum during our study sessions. They sing together, their voices blending in perfect harmony. That's the song Daddy used to sing, Sod says suddenly, and my breath catches. Your daddy sang Korean songs? Minho asks gently. Mommy taught us, Tolu explains. She said Daddy learned Korean songs in university and wanted us to know them too. Minho's eyes find mine across the room. Because he knows now that every Korean word I taught them, every song, every cultural tradition, it was all pieces of him I couldn't let go of. Would you like to learn more songs? He asks. Yes, they chorus, and for the first time in 7 years, I see Minho's face light up with pure, uncomplicated joy. 2 weeks later, We're sitting in my Lagos living room watching Minho attempt to eat my mother's pepper soup while Tolu and Saad coach him through the spice levels. Breathe through your nose, Mr. Minho, Saad instructs seriously. And don't drink water, it makes it worse. Listen to her, my mother says from the kitchen, speaking English with her thick Yoruba accent. That child has wisdom beyond her years. Minho looks at me with tears streaming down his face, partly from the pepper, mostly from emotion. They're incredible, Folake. Both of them. They get that from their father, I say, and this time, I mean him. When will you tell them? He asks quietly. When they're ready to understand that sometimes families are built in complicated ways. And when will that be? I watch our children, because that's what they are now, ours, teaching him how to fold plantain leaves for wrapping moi. Saad is patient and encouraging. Tolu is detailed and precise. They both have James's kindness and Minho's determination. Maybe when they're old enough to understand that love isn't about biology, I say. It's about showing up. It's about choosing each other every day, even when the choosing gets difficult. I want to show up, Minho says. For all of you. Every day. Even when I'm stubborn and protective and scared of letting anyone close enough to hurt us again. Especially then. 6 months later, Minho's pediatric clinic opens in Victoria Island with a ribbon-cutting ceremony that brings together Korean business executives and Nigerian community leaders. Tolu and Saad stand beside us in matching traditional Korean hanbok and Nigerian agbada, representing the bridge between two worlds they're learning to call home. Are you happy, Mommy? Saad asks as we watch Minho examine his first young patient. Yes, baby. I'm happy. Is Mr. Minho going to stay with us forever? I look at this man who gave up an empire to build a family, who learned to love pepper soup and Yoruba lullabies, who reads bedtime stories in 3 languages and never misses a school performance. I think he might. Good, Tolu says pragmatically. He makes excellent jollof rice for a Korean person. Minho catches my eye through the clinic window and smiles. The same smile that used to promise me forever across library tables and late-night study sessions. Some promises just take longer to keep than others. That night, as we tuck the children into bed, Saad looks up at both of us with serious eyes. Mr. Minho, can we call you something else besides Mr. Minho? What would you like to call me? She exchanges a look with her brother, some silent twin communication I've never been able to decode. Appa, she says simply. We'd like to call you Appa. Minho's composure finally breaks. He kneels beside their bed, pulling them both into his arms. I would be honored, he whispers in Korean, then switches to English so I can understand. I would be so honored to be your Appa. Later, as we clean up toys and prepare for another day of this beautifully complicated life we're building, Minho takes my hand. Do you think James would approve, he asks, of me being their father? I think about James, brilliant, fearless James who taught me that love should make you braver, not smaller. James who would want his memory honored but his children loved by whoever could love them best. I think James would say that the father who raises them matters more than the father who made them, I reply. And I think he'd be proud that his children chose someone worthy of their love. Even if that someone took 7 years to find his courage. Especially then. Because courage isn't about never being afraid. It's about choosing love despite the fear. Minho kisses my forehead, and I taste possibility and pepper soup and the promise of tomorrow. Sometimes the greatest act of love is leaving. Sometimes it's staying. But always, it's showing up as your authentic self for the people who need you most. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you get a second chance to choose the life that chooses you back.